My wife, Jenna, used to say she loved being busy. She said it made her feel alive. For the first 8 years of our marriage, that was fine, cute even. She juggled work, the kids, organizing school fundraisers, running errands, helping neighbors, all while insisting she didn't need help. I admired that about her. Then the work trips started. The first one seemed normal. She worked in corporate sales and conferences were part of the deal. But I noticed she came home strangely energized. Not tired, not worn down from travel. Like she'd spent the whole trip at a spa instead of meetings. And she avoided details. Whenever I asked how it went, she would answer with vague phrases. It was productive. It opened new opportunities. It's good for our future. Our future. Our kids' future. That phrase became her shield. Every time she left again, she'd kiss me on the cheek and say, "I'm doing this so our kids have everything they need." Then she'd rush off with her roller suitcase, nails freshly done, hair perfectly straightened, smelling like a perfume she never wore at home. At first, I believed her, because that's what you're supposed to do in a marriage. You trust. But there's trusting, and then there's being blind. The first Real crack appeared on a Thursday. She was supposed to be in Phoenix for a 3-day conference. She left Wednesday morning and sent me a picture later that night. A hotel bed with neatly folded towels and a room service tray. Something about it felt staged. The lighting was too perfect. The tray was empty, and the towels were folded the exact way they fold them at our friend Eric's house. Now, that might sound ridiculous. Who notices how someone folds towels? But Eric used to joke that he folded them military style, tight and sharp-edged, and that picture looked exactly like his folding. But I brushed it off. I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe she'd stayed somewhere similar. Maybe lots of hotels folded towels that way. Except she wasn't in a hotel. And I found out completely by accident. 2 weeks later, her next trip was scheduled. San Diego this time. She packed everything 2 days early. New dresses, nicer heels, makeup she rarely used. She even bought a new necklace to look more professional. Professional wasn't the word I would have used. That morning, after she took the kids to school, I grabbed her laptop to print insurance forms. A message notification popped up in the corner before I could even open the browser. A file named trip_schedule.pdf auto-downloaded from her work group chat. Except the file had been modified. It said San Diego, but the timestamps told a different story. It had been edited the night before, and not by her boss, by Jenna. She'd replaced the trip destination. That cold, sinking feeling hit my stomach. That sense that something wasn't just off, it was wrong. But still, I didn't want to believe she was lying. My brain kept jumping to the Kinder explanations. Maybe she updated it for formatting. Maybe the boss asked her to fix a mistake. Maybe she was embarrassed about something at work. I wanted there to be a reasonable explanation so badly I forced myself to accept anything that sounded hopeful. But then she came home later that night smelling like a cologne I didn't recognize. Not men's cologne, unisex. Something woodsy. Something Eric wore whenever he dressed up for double-date nights. I remember standing at the kitchen counter, staring at her, trying to make the pieces fit. She smiled. "Long day."
"I'm exhausted."
Her suitcase was still in the hall, still zipped, not a wrinkle in her dress. My chest tightened. That's when I made the decision. Not to confront her, not to yell, not to beg her to tell me the truth. No, I bought a GPS tracker, a discreet one, small enough to fit inside a makeup bag or the lining of a suitcase. And the night before her San Diego trip, I slipped it into the pocket of her travel backpack. She kissed me goodbye the next morning, looked me in the eye and said, "Everything I'm doing is for our kids." And for the first time, instead of believing her, I checked the tracker. Her signal pinged near a highway on-ramp, not toward the airport, then toward the suburbs, then into a familiar neighborhood, then right onto a street I hadn't visited in nearly a year. Eric's, my closest friend for 20 years. The guy who helped me build my first deck. The guy who held my hand when our oldest was born because Jenna was terrified of the epidural. The guy I called my brother from another mother. Her GPS dot blinked. Stopped. Right on his house. I stared at the blinking marker on the screen. My fingers felt numb. My chest felt too tight to breathe. I told myself there had to be a reason. A good one. A normal one. Maybe she dropped something off. Maybe she was borrowing something. Maybe he was helping her fix the car. But again, her suitcase was packed. Her nails were done. Her hair straightened. Her perfume strong. Women didn't get dressed like that to pick up a spare charger. They dressed like that to impress someone. I sat in my car for a long time before moving. Because once you drive toward the truth, you can't go back to the life you lived before. But I drove anyway. I took the side streets so she wouldn't see me. I parked 2 houses down. I watched. Her car was in his driveway. Not hidden. Not discreet. She wasn't even pretending to go to the airport. I cut the engine. My hands shook. This was the part in movies where the husband storms in screaming, or kicks down a door, or throws punches. But real life doesn't work like movies. Real life moves slow. Too slow. Painfully slow. And all I could think was, she lied to my face about doing this for our kids. I sat there another minute, breathing hard, feeling heat rise in my chest. And then, without planning it, without rehearsing it, without knowing exactly what I'd even say, I got out of the car, walked down the sidewalk, and headed straight toward my best friend's front door, ready to end the lie that had already ended us. The walk from my car to Eric's front door felt like crossing a field full of landmines. Every step was steady, but inside, everything was shaking. The tracker app on my phone still showed her dot, unmoving, right inside his house. The house I had helped him paint. The house where we'd grilled burgers on summer nights. The house where my kids had played in the backyard with his. My mind kept fighting itself, trying to glue together rational explanations that didn't exist. Maybe she was dropping something off. Maybe she was meeting someone else there. Maybe he wasn't home. But none of that made sense. Not with her suitcase in his driveway, the makeup she never wore for work trips, the edited itinerary, the late-night message from an unknown number. I reached the porch. My fist hovered over the door. I hesitated. Not because I was scared of the truth, because I already knew it. Still, I knocked. There were a few seconds of soft movement inside, the shuffle of feet, the quiet murmur of voices. Then the door cracked open. But it wasn't Eric who answered. It was Jenna, hair pinned up, makeup done, wearing a sweater I'd never seen before. One that was definitely not in her suitcase when she left for her trip. For a split second, her brain didn't register who stood in front of her. She smiled automatically, then froze. "Mark?" she whispered. Like my name was a ghost she didn't expect to see. Behind her, the TV flickered, and just barely visible over her shoulder was a second wine glass on the coffee table. A jacket draped over the couch. A pair of shoes by the hallway, his shoes. I didn't push past her. I didn't shout. I didn't accuse. "Work trip?" I asked, my voice steady, too steady. Jenna's breath stuttered. "Mark, I can explain." "I'd love to hear it," I said. "But you're not on a plane and you're not in San Diego. You're here, at his house." Her eyes darted behind her, toward the hallway, where I knew he was listening. Hiding. Listening the way cowards do when they know the hit is coming. Jenna stepped outside quickly and closed the door behind her, as if keeping me from looking inside could somehow erase the truth. "This isn't what it looks like," she said. "Then what is it?" I asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, then clenched her jaw. "It's complicated." "No, Jenna," I said calmly. "Complicated is taxes. Complicated is the cable bill. This is simple." She swallowed hard. "Mark, please. I didn't want you to find out like this. That's the first honest thing you've said in months." She flinched like I'd slapped her. Even though I hadn't raised my voice or moved an inch, the door creaked open behind her, and Eric stepped out halfway. Hair messy, shirt untucked, barefoot. He froze when he saw me. "Hey, man," he said awkwardly. "Don't hey me." My voice was still calm, scarily calm. "I trusted you." He ran a hand through his hair. "Mark."
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean for this to happen. That's funny, I said, because it looks like it happened multiple times. Jenna covered her face, shaking. Eric shifted uncomfortably, like he was debating stepping back inside, but didn't want to look more cowardly than he already did. I took a breath, not because I needed calm, but because I was done letting emotions steer the wheel. Did you ever plan to tell me? I asked Jenna. She wiped her eyes. I didn't want to hurt you. I was going to end it. Before or after the next business trip? She said nothing, and in the silence, the truth spoke louder than anything else. I turned to leave, but she grabbed my arm. Mark, please. The kids. The kids. I repeated, pulling my arm back. You used them as an excuse to cheat on me. I'm doing this for our kids. That's what you said. Tears welled in her eyes. Mark, I'm begging you. Don't blow up our family. You already did. I said. I'm just cleaning up the damage. Eric stepped forward. Mark, let me explain. I held up a hand. Don't. You stopped being my friend the second you started being her secret. He swallowed, looking down. I turned back to Jenna. Pack your stuff. I'll be gone by the time you get home. You can stay at your sister's until we figure out a custody plan. Her eyes widened. You're leaving? Just like that? No discussion. You made your decision when you drove into this driveway, I said. I'm just following the GPS. She choked out a sob. Mark, wait. No, I said. You wait. You wait for the consequences you tried to outrun. I walked down the porch steps, the night cool around me. I expected anger, rage, something explosive, but there was nothing, just clarity and disappointment, not in myself, in them. I got in my truck. Jenna rushed to the sidewalk. Please, she cried. Don't take the kids from me. I rolled my window down slightly. I'm not taking them from you, I said, but I am taking myself. She pressed her hands to her mouth, sobbing silently. Eric hovered in the doorway, shoulders slumped, cowardice written all over him. I drove away, but I didn't go home. Not yet, because the betrayal wasn't the end of the story. It was just the part that lit the fuse. I stayed at a cheap motel that night, not because I couldn't go home, but because I didn't want to walk into that house and feel the ghost of her excuses hanging in every room. The next morning, I called my lawyer friend, Tyler, someone I trusted, someone who'd never liked Jenna's sudden schedule changes. He answered on the first ring. Mark, you okay? No, I said honestly, but I will be. Tyler didn't waste time. What do you need? Separation, custody plan, and advice on documenting everything. His voice sharpened. What happened? GPS tracker, I said. She wasn't on a work trip. Damn, he muttered. Okay, come to my office at noon. I met him, and we worked for hours, calmly, methodically, like surgeons removing something poisonous. He helped me draft a plan. Temporary living arrangements, financial separation, digital backups of texts and receipts, a record of the work trip lies. By the time I walked out of his office, the fog that had clouded my mind for months had completely lifted. I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't desperate. I wasn't clinging to hope. I was prepared, and that changed everything. 3 days later, Jenna texted, Jenna, can we please talk? Jenna, the kids miss you.
Jenna, I'm sorry.
It was a mistake. Jenna, please come home. I responded, we'll talk. Friday, at noon. Neutral location. I picked a quiet cafe near the park. She arrived early, eyes swollen, hands trembling around a cup she hadn't touched. Mark, she whispered when I sat down. I'm so sorry. I know, I said, but sorry doesn't undo choices. She broke down again, but I didn't comfort her. That part of me had closed its door. I ended it with him, she said. I told him it was a mistake. I want to fix our marriage. It's too late. Why? She cried. Why won't you even try? Because you didn't cheat with a stranger, I said. You cheated with someone who was supposed to be my brother. She looked crushed. I was confused. It was a moment of weakness. Moments don't last 6 months, I said. Trips don't lie. Itinerary files don't rewrite themselves. She looked stunned. You saw that. I saw everything. Her shoulders collapsed. Mark, she whispered. What do I do now? You learn to live with what you broke, I said. And you learn to co-parent with respect. Her lips trembled. And us? There is no us anymore. She sobbed harder, but there was nothing left for me to give. I stood. She reached for my hand, but I stepped back. Goodbye, Jenna. And for the first time since the lies began, she realized the truth. She hadn't lost me when I walked up to Eric's door. She lost me the moment she chose that driveway over her family. I didn't expect the aftermath to come so quickly. The day after our cafe conversation, Eric tried calling me, then texting, then leaving long, clumsy voicemails filled with excuses about emotional confusion and boundaries being crossed. I didn't answer a single one. When a man betrays 20 years of brotherhood, he doesn't earn even 2 seconds of your time. Instead, I focused on what mattered, my kids. I picked them up from school that Friday afternoon. They ran toward me like nothing in the world had changed, arms wide, backpacks bouncing. My daughter jumped into my arms first. My son wrapped himself around my waist. Dad, you're home. Mom said you were on a business thing. Are you staying all weekend? Their innocence hit me harder than any betrayal. Yes, I said, smiling softly. I'm here all weekend. What I didn't say was that I had already finalized temporary custody paperwork, that I was slowly but surely rebuilding stability for them, or that their mother had detonated something she couldn't fix with a simple apology. We spent the evening eating pizza, watching a movie, and building pillow forts. I didn't bring up Jenna. I didn't ask what she'd told them. I didn't want my kids to carry the weight of something that wasn't theirs. But kids always sense more than we expect. When my son crawled into the blanket fort beside me, he whispered, Mom cries a lot. I know, buddy, I said gently. She's going through some things. Are you mad at her? A question bigger than his age. I breathed slowly. Sometimes grown-ups make choices that hurt people. And when that happens, we need space to calm down and do what's right. He nodded, satisfied with the answer. My daughter snored softly beside us, her small hand on my arm. That moment, quiet, warm, honest, was when I knew my revenge didn't need to be dramatic. It just needed to be peaceful. Monday came and Jenna asked to talk as a family. I agreed, but only because the kids deserved clarity. We met at her sister's house, neutral ground. Jenna looked fragile, eyes puffy, hair thrown up in a messy bun. She tried to smile, but it collapsed halfway. The kids ran to her immediately. She held them tight, kissed their heads, and when they were in the other room with their aunt, she turned to me. Mark, please come home, she whispered. I can't do this alone. You won't be alone, I said calmly. You'll have the kids half the time. I'll help with school and schedules. But I'm not your husband anymore. She swallowed hard. I ended things with him. That doesn't undo what you did. Her voice broke. I don't want to lose my family. You lost your marriage, I said gently. Not your family. She covered her mouth as tears spilled. I thought you'd forgive me eventually. Forgiving you, I said, doesn't mean staying with you. That was the moment it finally hit her. Not because I said it harshly, but because I said it softly. People expect anger. They're not prepared for calm finality. Weeks passed. Our custody schedule settled. The kids adjusted better than I expected, because I made their days predictable, warm, safe.
No tensión. No slammed doors.
No shouting behind walls. And Jenna, well, reality hit her hard. She tried dating Eric openly. It lasted 8 days. He wasn't the man she imagined him to be when he was a secret. Without the thrill of hiding, things went cold quickly. I heard from mutual friends that he'd blocked her number after a fight, and she showed up crying on her sister's porch. I felt nothing.
No pity. No satisfaction.
Just distance. Because her choices had finally caught up to her. And for once, I wasn't the one paying the price. The real moment of revenge, though the moment that stayed with me, happened 3 months later at my son's soccer game. I was sitting on the bleachers with a thermos of coffee, cheering him on. The kids sprinted across the field, sun shining, parents cheering, everything normal. Jenna walked up quietly and sat a few feet away, not next to me, not behind me, just close enough to be polite. She looked thinner, sadder, tired in a way no makeup could hide. "Hi, Mark," she said softly. She stared at the field for a long time, then whispered, "You look happier." I didn't gloat. I didn't smirk. I didn't say anything cruel. I simply nodded. "I am." She nodded too, eyes glassy. "I didn't think you would be." "That's because you didn't know me as well as you thought," I said. She blinked at that, surprised, hurt, thoughtful. Then she whispered something so quiet I almost didn't hear it. "You were the best thing that ever happened to me." And I threw it away. For the first time, I believed she truly understood. But her realization didn't change my heart. Because healing had already replaced the space where hurt lived. The whistle blew. Our son scored a goal, sprinted across the field, arms up. I jumped to my feet, cheering. So did Jenna. But there was a difference. He ran to me first. He hugged me tight, laughter ringing loud. Jenna watched from a few steps away, proud, but with a shadow behind her smile. She knew she still had her children, but she would never again have the version of me she betrayed. And that was the real ending. Not her tears, not her regret, not her broken relationship with Eric. The real ending was this. I got my peace, my dignity, my future, my bond with my kids, my life back, and she got exactly what she had chosen.